Essential foods for those with sarcopenia, for those with thin arms and legs, and for those lacking muscle strength. Today, I'm going to show you what you should eat to maintain, preserve, and regain your muscle strength. I'll provide you with fundamental foods to combat sarcopenia, which is simply the progressive loss of muscle mass, also associated with a decrease in muscle strength and reduced physical performance, consequently leading to a loss of functionality. You may find yourself unable to do things you could before, like climbing stairs, carrying groceries, which obviously leads to a reduced quality of life. So if you're feeling tired, weak, and struggling with simple activities such as climbing stairs, taking a shower, putting on shoes, or going to the store, you can't miss this video because it will empower you to improve your quality of life. So if you want to maintain this, even as you get older, if you want to keep your independence, if you want to continue doing your own things without relying on others, stick with me until the end. You won't regret it, because today we're going to discuss which foods and in what amounts you should consume to maintain and regain your muscle strength. So go ahead and start commenting. Write in the chat. Let me know in the comments which part of Brazil or the world you're watching from right now. And tell me if you're experiencing any of these issues, if you're feeling weaker than before, if you've noticed that your muscle strength isn't what it used to be. So write it in the chat or in the comments, because I want to get to know you better. Now, folks, when it comes to nutrition, we need to keep in mind 4 key macronutrients: carbohydrates, fats, fiber, and proteins, each with their own functions, purposes, and importance. But today we're going to focus more on proteins. Why are we paying attention to proteins, especially when it comes to the elderly, people over 60 years old, people over 65 years old? First, proteins are essential for building muscle. And muscles don't just serve to give us strength and mobility. They also have several other metabolic functions. They help control blood pressure, help regulate blood sugar, and other chronic non-communicable diseases that are associated with lifestyle. But where can the elderly get protein? What is the recommended amount of protein to consume? We have 2 main sources of protein. The first sources are animal-based protein sources. What are they? Meat, fish, chicken, pork, lamb, goat, kid, seafood, dairy, eggs. All of these are sources of animal protein. And folks, it's very important for the elderly to consume protein. I know there are many people who stop eating chicken, meat, fish, and eggs, thinking they are making a healthy choice. They say, no, I don't eat anything. I only eat vegetables and fruits. Most of the time, this is not a healthy diet because it will probably be low in protein. So if you're elderly, you can't leave out protein and replace it with fruits and vegetables. Of course, you should consume fruits and vegetables, but you also can't forget to consume protein. And I see that many people stop consuming protein. My grandmother, my mother's mother, for example, Doña Edir, I don't know if she's watching, but if you are, Doña Edir, a kiss, I love you. She consumes little animal protein, and she should consume more because that would be better for her health. So these are the first major group of proteins, which are proteins of animal origin. And now we have plant-based proteins. Beans, chickpeas, peas, soybeans, oropronobis, lentils, all these foods are also rich in protein and should be consumed. They can replace animal protein if a person doesn't want to consume animal protein, if the person is vegetarian, vegan, or has some other dietary preference. When it comes to food choices, she can use these foods to consume the appropriate amount of protein. And what is that adequate amount, folks? Look, for young adults to maintain muscle mass, if they don't want to gain muscle, they should consume between 0.8 to 1 g of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. That means if someone weighs 70 kilograms, they should consume 70 g of protein to maintain their muscle mass. If they want to gain muscle mass, They should consume more protein, between 1.2 g and 2 g per kilogram of body weight. So if someone weighs 70 kilograms and wants to gain muscle mass, they should consume up to 140 g of protein per day. This is for young adults. For the elderly, it's different. Just to maintain muscle mass, the elderly should consume between 1.2 and 1.5 g of protein per kilogram of body weight per day. Why? Because the elderly have to consume more protein than younger individuals. This is because after the age of 30, and I'm already in this range at 31, the balance between muscle production and breakdown starts to shift. It starts to lean more towards muscle loss, especially if the person doesn't have healthy habits, if they are sedentary, eat poorly, smoke or drink. So that's why the elderly should consume more protein. How will you know the right amount of protein you need to consume? You'll take your weight and multiply it by 1.5 on a calculator. So if you weigh 80 kilograms, you'll multiply by 1.5, and the result will be 120 g. If you weigh 60 kilograms, you'll multiply by 1.5, and the result will be 90 g. That's how you'll figure out how much protein you need to consume. But then you might think, no doctor, I weigh 70 kilograms. I did the math and saw that I need to consume 105 g of protein to maintain my muscle mass. That's easy. Because I'm going to get a 150 g steak, which is the steak I eat every day, along with a 150 g chicken breast, I'll eat it and that's it. I've already consumed my 150 g. I've even consumed more than the 105 g of protein I should be consuming. But guys, it's not that simple. Why? The weight of chicken, meat, fish, eggs, lentils, and peas is not 100% protein. For example, beef and chicken steaks contain between 25% and 30% protein. So in a 100 g steak, you will have between 25 g and 30 g of protein. So guys, it's not that straightforward. You won't hit your goal by just eating a 100 g steak. No, because out of those 100 g, only 30 g are protein and the rest is water, fat, and other nutrients. Therefore, to reach your goal, you will need to consume more protein. You won't be able to hit your 100 g protein goal by consuming a single 100 g steak. No. So, since no one wants to eat 400 g of chicken or 400 g of meat every day, it's important to diversify your protein sources and also spread them out across your meals. Otherwise, your body won't be able to absorb the protein properly. Your body can absorb about 30 g to 35 g of protein per meal. That's why it's important to spread out our protein consumption throughout the day. Otherwise, you'll end up wasting protein. And what does the classic Brazilian breakfast look like? They'll take a French roll and spread some margarine on it, not even using butter, just taking a French roll with margarine and a coffee with a splash of milk, which is black coffee with just a dash of milk to make it more palatable. Guys, this classic Brazilian breakfast is extremely low in protein. There will be a small amount of protein from the bread and a little protein from the milk, which is barely present in the coffee. So this type of breakfast will contribute to the maintenance of sarcopenia. It won't help prevent it. To contribute to muscle mass gain. So that's the first mistake. Breakfast has no protein. And then at lunch, what does lunch look like? We're aware of the financial limitations, right? Most people can't afford to buy meat, chicken, or fish. So what do they end up filling up on? Pasta, rice, flour, and sausage, right? They think that sausage counts as a main dish, like people often say, and they keep eating sausage, right? As if sausage were a good protein option, which it's not. There's a lack of protein, isn't there? So there was no protein at breakfast and no protein at lunch either. I know that a lot of people watching this can relate to this kind of breakfast and lunch, and then it's time for dinner. So what does dinner look like? No, doctor, at night I don't feel hungry. You know how it is. I don't even have dinner, doctor. I skip dinner entirely. And then often, dinner ends up being similar to breakfast. A person drinks tea, has coffee, a piece of cake, eats another piece of bread with margarine, and then has another meal where they didn't consume an adequate amount of protein. So everyone, all of these eating habits, in the way I just described, will not contribute to the recovery of muscle mass. In fact, quite the opposite. It will contribute to the continued depletion, decrease, and deterioration of muscle mass. But how can we change this? Instead of having coffee in the morning, eating bread with margarine, and a coffee with a splash of milk, why not add 2 scrambled eggs to that bread? Because then you'll already be adding around 15 grams of protein. Additionally, if you drink a glass of whole milk, you'll add about 6 more grams of protein. If you add a slice of cheese, that's another 5 to 10 grams of protein, depending on the size of the slice. So just with breakfast consisting of 2 eggs, a glass of milk, and a slice of cheese, you will have already added 30 grams of protein. So if you need to consume 120 grams of protein, you've already covered 25% or a quarter of your daily requirement. Now let's move on to lunch. How are you going to prepare your lunch? Keep in mind that it's not always possible for everyone to afford meats like pork, chicken, fish, goat, or beef due to financial constraints. But here's a helpful tip. Focus on incorporating legumes into your meals, such as beans, lentils, chickpeas, and peas. Not only are they rich in fiber, but they are also excellent sources of protein. In fact, the classic Brazilian combination of rice and beans provides us with all the essential amino acids our bodies need. So, if you're unable to consume animal protein every day, make sure to include plenty of beans, peas, lentils, and chickpeas in your diet. Add in some vegetables as well, and you'll be well on your way to meeting your protein needs. You'll already be consuming more protein at lunchtime as well. In about 100 grams of cooked chickpeas, we have 9 grams of protein, okay? Just to give you an idea of the quantities. And then at dinner, you'll include eggs, dairy products, maybe make a small steak, some fish or chicken, which will also help increase your protein intake. And I'm sure, folks, that many of you watching me right now are not hitting your daily protein target. Do you think, you who are watching, that you're meeting your protein goal or not? Write it in the chat, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Guys, this here is protein, right? It's the most famous protein that we have, that everyone knows about, which is whey protein, the protein from milk whey. Does everyone have to take whey protein? No, not everyone needs to take it. Who should take whey protein? Those who are losing weight. Who is not managing to consume an adequate amount of protein in their diet. So, when we identify this problem, whey protein is usually our treatment option of choice because it is generally a safe supplement that can be consumed by most people as long as there is no severe kidney disease or any other contraindication to consuming this supplement. So it's a very reasonable choice for the goal of increasing protein intake. Ideally, whey protein should be consumed outside of the main meal times. Meals should be timed to not interfere with protein absorption. You can have a protein shake as a morning snack, an afternoon snack, with dinner if you eat lightly in the evening, or with breakfast if your breakfast tends to be on the lighter side. And Dr. João is here to emphasize that simply eating protein alone isn't going to solve everything. That's right, everyone. In addition to consuming protein, you need to engage in physical activity because for your muscles to utilize that protein effectively, exercise is essential. So there's no point in consuming extra protein if you're not combining it with physical activity, especially strength training and muscle building exercises, to convert that increased protein intake into muscle gains. Okay? I teach you how to do this in my book, The Longevity Code, which not only teaches you how to accomplish this, but also how to control blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, anxiety, smoking, and alcoholism, all without doctors, medical exams, or medication. Simply click on the first link in the description and get your digital copy for just $25.9 0. If you think it's expensive or you're afraid to invest this money without a return, no worries. If you don't like the book, I'll refund your money. No questions asked, no hassle, no nonsense. Start the countdown to transforming your life for the better. Our friend Genesio Testa, who has already read the book, is recommending it to those who haven't read it yet. I'm just saying that you're missing out on a great opportunity to improve your life, to have more energy, vitality, and quality of life. So folks, without further ado, click now on the first link in the description or the pinned comment and get your longevity code.